We got it. We'll be all right.
Or we won't.
We always are.
Which is also all right.
we always are one way or the other.
Hi, Ryan.
What's happening?
I'm doing a podcast with my bud.
I thought that was going to be, I'm drunk or something like that. But
Nope.
Just doing. You're doing.
Yep, I'm just here.
Doing-
The opposite of drunk.
Doing big things, dude. Yeah, you're dry this month. How's that going?
It's going great.
Nice.
I have 2 weeks of no boozing, and today was day 20 in a row of working out.
20 in a row working
Feeling-
out. Don't you need a
feeling pretty
recovery
good.
day? Do you
Nah, fuck
have
it. YOLO, bro.
Fuck it, I'm going in.
I only got one body. Might as well fuck it up.
Leroy Jenkins.
My body's had enough rest throughout the years. It's a cumulative thing, right?
Oh, God. Has your body had enough rest throughout the years? That's like
Yeah,
the
man.
one thing I've never had enough of.
There are like whole months where I didn't work out. I feel like I got some banked.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about true workout rest.
Yeah, I got plenty of off days banked. I feel like it's like sick days, right? You can cash them out.
I mean, follow your heart.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing, man.
Follow your heart. If that's what it means to you, then that's what it means.
How are you doing?
Dude, I'm all right, man. I'm all right. It's that time of January in the Minnesota where things are pretty cold. We're about to get a mega ultra blizzard on Friday.
Oh, sick.
And you're like, this is it. This is what it feels like to be in the heart of the beast.
When's that mega ultra blizzard supposed to hit?
I'm
trying to get the fuck out of here on Friday.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Oklahoma for a day.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's
It's gonna
right.
be weird.
Sure enough.
Hello, Oklahoma.
Are you driving or flying?
I'm airplaning.
Airplaning. Well, it's not the option, not one of the options, but also I understand. Okay.
Well, I'm not going to be flying. I'm just riding on the airplane. I feel like flying is misleading in that situation.
We were about to, instead of KinSpencerDunk.com, we're about to have KinSpencerFly.com. And
No,
also,
but we're about to have a private what-if pilot if we ever need one.
God damn, he's got to be close, right?
Well, no, he's got like 2 years to go, but he'll get there.
That's longer than I thought it took to be a pilot, but I'm glad it's that long, to be honest.
Yeah, right. That shouldn't be a quick process.
No, it should be a very long process. I'm sorry, but your Wi-Fi is not connecting, and I need it to access all of my notes right now.
There's another network on there. There's a 5G one. You try that, boy?
Did you change your Wi-Fi password?
No, it should be the same. Would you like me to read my Wi-Fi password to you?
Well, that's why I was
on the show.
That's why I was derailing our. That one's also locked though.
Oh, well, here, pass it over.
5G's locked.
I'll pass it in. I'll type in.
There's
pass
a
in
guest network. Does your guest network work?
I don't know. Let me just put in the password for you.
Okay.
Let me pass in the type word.
Oh God, things are happening. I don't like it.
Can't do it if you don't give me your computer.
I'm
though.
trying. Here you go. Have fun. On-air production meetings, like, whoa.
It's in German. It's not the easiest thing to say out loud.
Yeah. Well, and if you said it, I wouldn't have been able to spell it. So.
Right.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to the What If Podcast. I'm Ryan. That's Spencer. We're glad to be back in your lives
go,
this
friends.
week. 2020, though, coming in hot. I wanted to start this week. So we are talking about a story that hails from Australia. And it didn't feel right to do a story related to Australia and not acknowledge all of the terrible, hard stuff that's going on in Australia right now as it relates to all of the wildfires that are rampaging through the country and continent. It's pretty crazy. And I feel like if we're going to talk about Australia, we got to do a little bit of something good to help out, as well as call some attention to it here. So I think what we're going to do right now is we are going to adopt a koala.
Bet.
And we are going to adopt a koala on behalf of all of you and all of us. And we are going to tell you all how to adopt a koala as well, and check out some other resources that can help you help others who are suffering from the wildfires in Australia right now.
Human or animal.
Human or animal.
Or otherwise.
So, are you ready to adopt a what if koala?
Yes. What does that entail exactly? Or what are we doing for them?
So it appears that there are a couple different ways we can go about this. Some of the koala adoption is symbolic in nature, which is essentially you're making a donation to an organization that does work on behalf of these koalas, but you're not...
What kind of work?
Like
plumbing and engineering and stuff?
Yes, they're making little koala toilets what they're doing. No, it's they're doing things like preservation efforts, habitats,
conservation stuff.
Conservation stuff.
Okay.
So like that's what like you could do the World Wildlife Fund, which is a great organization. If you're not familiar with them, go check out the World Wildlife Fund. But they do symbolic koala adoptions, whereas if we want to, and I think this is the route, go to koalahospital.org.au. You can select a specific wild koala to adopt out of the Port Macquarie NSW, which is New South Wales,
I believe so,
Australia hospital, and you can select a specific koala to adopt. And
what does that mean?
It means essentially that you get a certificate of adoption and your money goes to specific conservation efforts around the areas that these koalas come from, as well as helping these koalas keep alive and thrive.
You got to keep alive,
procreate, etc.
Ooh.
So.
All right. Well, let's do that then.
All right. Let's do that then. Do you have our, okay, so for some of you who are on our Patreon, we do a paid episode every week. It's on patreon.com/whatifpodcast. There's another level you can get on called Fund Our Fuckery. This is not fuckery, although it is kind of fuckery, but it's not fuckery.
It's the best kind of fuckery.
It's the best kind of fuckery, which is doing good things with the money that this show makes. This is like a Fund Our Fuckery, but for good. Fund our good.
Yeah, hopefully it all is, but yes.
Yes, fund our collective good. So I guess we're doing one of those on the free show this week. Do you want to pick a koala right away? How do you want to do this? Do you have our Fund Our Fuckery card available? Should we literally do this on the show right now?
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
Okay.
There's probably some money in our PayPal account too. I haven't looked at it in a minute.
That's legit.
But yeah, either way, we can do it right now.
Okay, so koalahospital.org.au has a list of 18 separate wild koalas that we can adopt right now, and we'll get sent a there's like different packages you get, which I don't even fully understand all of the things that we get in return for it. I just want to I
don't want anything.
I just want to throw some money at a koala and be like, hey dude, I hope you get to eat real good and like maybe make more babies so that there's more koalas.
We're hoping the koalas fuck?
Well, are you not?
I don't know.
I want that for all things that want it.
Fair.
I mean, that seems like a pretty good part.
Hell yeah!
Oh boy.
That sounder was so much more excited about koala sex than I was. Geez.
I've rewired the studio this week, and I may have missed a thing or two. I'm sorry if you can't hear anymore.
I'm sorry. We're sorry about all of your ears.
Sorry you're deaf.
Thank you for the time you spent listening to our show, and we're sorry that you literally can't anymore.
Okay. Do they have names?
Bro, do they ever? Do you want me to just go through the list?
Yes, absolutely.
I think that,
you said there's only 18, right?
There is only 18, so we can quite literally read every koala name relatively quickly here and pick the one that feels like the best what if representative.
Hell yes.
All right, that feels so much better.
You're welcome.
Okay, you ready?
Absolutely.
Koala number 1 who we could adopt, which by the way, there are varying, I don't know how to say this, koala aesthetics.
What does that mean?
Like some are, I don't know, like they look real different depending on the koala I'm looking at here. And some are like quite ugly and some are
Let's
quite
get one of
cute.
those. Let's get an ugly boy.
But even the ugly ones are really cute.
Great.
You know? Like they're...
Start with the ugliest one, and if he has a cool name, we're doing it.
Bayabara Jones is the ugliest one I've seen so far. But there's also, yeah, buddy. Bayabara Jones looks like he's. Do you ever see the movie Finding Nemo?
Yeah.
like the fucking the scarred up fish with one eye in the aquarium that Nemo lands in.
Yeah, it's that guy.
That's Bayabara.
Yeah, he's been through some shit. He needs our help.
He's seen some shit, man. But I mean more like I don't think this is from the fires. I think it's more like he's just
right.
Shit went bad real quick.
Yeah, he's like lived a life in the outback, you know.
Yeah, the guy needs our help.
All right, so Balmoral Mini,
No.
Barrington Xavier,
Ooh.
which
How
is
ugly
like
is he?
No, I don't know. They don't.
How ugly are they?
Medium.
What was that name one more time?
Barrington Xavier.
Okay, Barrington is if they're medium ugly, they're winning right now.
Barrington Xavier also feels fresh out of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like a cousin of Will or something like that.
Or Hogwarts.
Or Hogwarts. I can see that. A personal favorite of mine, Crescent Head Jimmy, which sounds so much like a gangster from The Irishman that I can't stand it.
Crescent Head?
Crescent Head Jimmy.
Wow.
Like a crescent head wrench, but also like my cousin Jimmy.
But a marsupial.
But also a marsupial. Also, Jimmy's eating leaves in his photo. And
he's fine then. He doesn't need our help.
It's pretty strong. Emerald Downs Mary.
Okay.
Which
what they look like?
she's got like maybe the most regal pose I've ever seen from a koala. Looks fresh out of Downton Abbey. Got some like spots.
She's doing fine. Keep going.
Gyra Allen.
Yeah.
I've got Hockey Luna.
Ooh.
Pretty big. Pretty good.
What do they look like?
Hockey's pretty cute. Hiding behind a log.
Okay. A little shy, maybe.
Yep.
Okay. Hockey Luna's a good one. Is that spelled like the sport?
The sport and the moon.
Okay. Cool.
Hockey Luna. Next up, we've got Kulunbung Close Trevor.
Wow. So, give me that one more time.
Kulunbung Close Trevor.
Close? Like Close?
Like Glenn Close.
Okay.
Distant relative of Glenn Close. Actually looks like could be a distant relative of Glenn Close. Now that I look at it.
That's fucked up.
Got the black and white ears, very like Cruella de Vil-esque.
The black and white ears.
Yeah, I'm thinking Cruella de Vil of Glenn Close.
Yeah, that was a cartoon.
No, they're made a live action one, and Glenn Close played Cruella de Vil. Good Lord.
Is your microphone doing okay, bro?
No, there's like one hair on it.
Oh, nice.
And every time I talk into it, I
Is
keep
it touching your face?
getting it in my
Icky.
like right in my mouth.
Icky. Is it yours?
Fucking,
you got a hat on. It's probably not.
Pray it is.
Sorry about your face.
There's also Kulunbung Tasha.
I like the first one. Close. What was
Close
that?
Trevor.
Close Trevor is just that should be its own name.
Liner Anwin. Liner Paul.
Liner Paul.
Lion Leo.
Ooh, that's redundant.
Lismore Myrtle. I don't know. I said that with a British accent. It felt British.
Moaning Myrtle.
Yeah, right.
Is it a ghost koala?
These must be some of the areas that they were rescued from, because it's like Lismore, Kulun. I already forgot what it was. Lismore Rose. Miora Jara.
Yeah.
Ocean Summer. Sounds like a model. Oxley Twinkles.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Bro, Oxley Twinkles looks like a literal stuffed animal, and I feel like Oxley needs to be like we need to protect Oxley at all costs.
I feel committed to adopting an ugly one.
Zanani is the last one. One word. It's like Madonna, but Zanani.
They ugly?
Not really.
No? Okay.
No.
You said Barrister Xavier?
Barrington Xavier is
they're pretty rough?
Rough enough. Bayabara Jones is for sure the roughest koala we've got, and it's by a lot.
Okay, let's do that one then, because that name is strong.
All right.
And they've seen some shit. Can I see that picture real quick just to confirm?
Yes, you can. Here,
I haven't actually seen any of these.
I'll open it in a new window so you can really see the...
Yeah, you got a close-up?
Yeah.
Of Bomani Jones?
Yep. Sort of.
Oh, dang. Bud. Oh, you're too deckard, bud.
I'm saying, bro. He needs our help, man.
Can I see some of the other ones for comparison?
Yes.
That guy looks kind of rough, but maybe all koalas look pretty rough.
No, dude.
I haven't seen a close-up of a koala recently.
Here, I'll very quickly show you a, for example, this is Balmoral. I can't say any of these. Balmoral Mini.
Oh, that's so much cuter.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Look, as a couple cats who feel like misfits, I think it's only right.
It's a couple of dudes that are just ugly as sin. We got to adopt
as a couple,
Beelzebub Jones.
As a couple ugly misfits, we got to adopt the ugliest misfit of the bunch.
Yep.
All right, it's Bayabara Jones.
Let's go.
All right.
Now, what information
Name
has to happen
appear on certificate of adoption. Wait, we're not naming it, right? This is our name.
The Sweary Boys? Will they accept that?
Should we just do the What If podcast?
No, we should do the Sweary Boys.
All right. But I'm just saying, it's like we're doing it on behalf of everyone who's listening right now.
Yeah, they'll get it.
All right, you're right. The Sweary Boys. Personal message to be sent with your adoption. Do they read it to Bayabara Jones? Wait, do you want to know?
I'm getting different on this one.
Can we put that on there?
I mean, I guess we could. Do you want me to?
Trying to think if we got any other good contenders.
That's the worst name I ever heard.
Oh. No, because it's a good name.
I'm a dumbass.
That's horrible. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you treat our adopted son like this?
What's up with y'all?
How big is he?
Yeah, that boy big.
Is he pretty average size koala?
Pretty average sized.
Yeah, I think you should.
I'm getting different on this one.
Are we doing Deckard or Dickard?
I think it's Dickard.
All right. Let's see if they take
I
it.
feel like the Australians would appreciate that.
With an exclamation point. It's got to be an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Koala Hospital website experiencing unprecedented demand.
Fuck.
As a result of the bushfires in Australia, the Port Macquarie Koala Hospital website is receiving huge numbers of visitors. To ensure the sites cope with visitors and their requests, we must temporarily close the site for maintenance. All orders, including adoptions, will be processed and sent in the next 3 weeks.
Oh, dang.
However, donations can still be made via our GoFundMe page.
All right. Well, we can do that.
Well, we'll do a GoFundMe donation. If you want to check out the GoFundMe donation for the Koala Hospital, you can go to GoFundMe.com. It's /F and then it's /help thirsty koalas devastated by recent fires with dashes in between all the words there.
Wow.
This is a
link to it.
podcast, so you can rewind to check that out. Or you can link to it. Also, check out the World Wildlife Fund, and there's a couple of great things floating around Twitter. We'll put another link to some of the resources that you can check out if you want to support the folks that are being affected by the fires in Australia.
Sick.
Speaking of Australia,
we can make a donation in honor of
Bayabara Jones.
Yeah.
Beelzebub Jesus, I think you called him.
Called him Jones still.
Oh, Jones. Beelzebub Jesus is a pretty good name because
Bumblebee Jesus.
Bumblebee Jesus. Wow. Just put them all on the list. Man.
Yes.
Put them on the list.
All right. Well, we'll make a donation in his honor, I guess.
We will absolutely do that, and we'll put some links there if y'all would like to do the same. Speaking of Australia, this week we are in Australia.
Can we do one more thing first?
Yes.
Because last week on this here show, we discussed an email that we received from the director of Missing 411, The Hunted.
We did.
Or The Hunters, or whatever it was. I think
yes,
The Hunted.
The Hunted.
And we asked for people's opinions on whether we should talk to this person.
We did.
And it was literally a 50-50 split.
Yes. I think we're doing we have to do a poll in the Facebook group.
And I don't want to really do it.
Damn.
Do you still want to do it?
On-air production meeting. I kind of do.
All right. Well, we're still at 50-50 then. Fuck.
We'll do a poll in the Facebook group and see what people say.
All right.
We'll do that. Join our Facebook group if you want to vote on whether or not we interview the director of that movie.
There was one very strong no that I feel like should count for at least like 1 1/4 no's. Did you see that one?
Of course, we of all people believe that the strength of your opinion counts more.
Well, I'm just saying.
Give it to me.
Does it not?
Give it to me. Give me a good read. I need it.
The email is titled 2 Things Real Quick.
Fantastic.
Please don't.
I love that one of y'all is like driving or at work or some shit and you're like, yeah, or you're just like, you're sitting on the pod at work, you're like rocking a deuce and you're like, hey, you know what? 2 things real quick. I gotta get some shit off my chest.
This is sent from Candace's iPhone, so yes.
Hell yeah.
1, please don't spend more time on David fucking Bigfoot Politis. I'd love y'all to roast this douchebag's email, but please don't advertise that trash bag of a movie. It's bullshit to say they are, quote, helping families. Do those families get my fucking $10 I paid to watch an hour of my life disappear?
Bang, 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 bang.
Also, I'd buy that cat shirt because fuck cats. Candace, you seem like fun.
Oh, Candace, one of us. One of us.
All right. Take us to Australia, my guy.
Fantastic. Really, really fantastic. All right. Go join the What If Podcast Facebook group. There's over 1,000 of us in there. We have a lot of fun every week, and we'll put a poll in there and see how it turns out.
Sick.
We're going to Australia. That's the where. The when is June of 1998.
Yes. Hell of a year.
98?
Yeah.
Was it?
Sure.
Tell me more. Dream Team?
The Bulls won the NBA championship.
Is that Dream Team year too? No, 96.
Yeah, 98 would not have been a Summer Olympic.
No, it was winter.
1998. Yeah, I got nothing else.
All right,
There's
cool.
probably some good music.
Sounds good.
I was hanging out in 6th grade. That was kind of fun.
6th grade?
Mm-hmm.
6th grade was tough. I didn't like 6th grade.
I mean, I didn't like any grade, but that one was okay relative to the rest of them.
Fair. We, however, were not in Australia, which is where we are today. Not literally in our narrative.
Paint the scene, bruv.
We're in the Australian Outback. It is dry. It is arid. It is extremely remote. More remote than I even realized it was. I knew the Outback was remote. I didn't realize how remote it was.
Didn't that crazy fucker who disappeared in the Outback teach you anything?
Well, you know.
I don't remember. Ricky McGee. That's the guy.
Ricky freaking McGee. Ricky freaking McGee, bud. He did. He taught me that it's fucking scary out there. But I just we'll get to how remote, but the remoteness is sort of overwhelming. Like, I think we think a lot about when you're in the southwestern United States, it takes a long way to get from place to place. And it's like, no, you don't understand.
It's a type of remoteness that does not exist in these here states.
Yeah. We're talking literally hundreds and hundreds of miles between towns. And when I say town, I mean some of these towns have permanent residents in numbers of 10.
The dozens.
And 20 and 30 and 50 people. So it's way, way, way out.
Yeah.
There's a charter pilot. His name is Trek Smith. So part of it being that remote is in this area. There's a lot of charter pilots that get you from place to place because driving hundreds of miles from place to place isn't reasonable.
That ain't going to work.
And there are not regional or national airports that are taking you from town to town to be doing these types of things. So there's a lot of charter pilots, Outback pilots who are doing these types of routes. This one pilot, his name is Trek Smith, whose primary routes fly in and out of a town called Marree. Marree is in South Australia, which is a state of Australia. Mm-hmm. So it'd be South America, but America.
What? Pardon?
But if South America was in the United States,
I don't
Australia.
know what you're saying, but I'm almost certain it's wrong.
I was thinking about it as
it just can't be right.
that has to be our new tagline for the whole show. No, I was just thinking about it Australia and South Australia and America and South America.
It's not the same at all.
Well, the names are the same, but the places are very different is the point I was trying to make. Anyway, South Australia is a state in Australia. You've probably heard of Adelaide. Marree is 366 miles north of Adelaide, and Marree itself is a town of about 150 people. So again, one of those really small outback towns. Trek Smith's routes fly in and out of Marree to the surrounding bush towns, as well as in and out of Adelaide. He flies around the area a lot, in and out of a lot of different directions, so he sees a lot of the outback from the sky.
Yep.
In late June of 1998, Trek is taking a flight from Marree, not from Marree, to Marree from the name of the town.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, the name of the town isn't important, but it's kind of cute, and I was going to say it just because it was cute.
Is Marree? Is not Marree.
Coober Petty.
Oh.
Coober Petty.
Tom's brother.
Coober. Cooper Petty was lived a different life. I'll just say he lived a very different life than
Cooper Petty
Tom.
and the Heart Healers.
Jesus Christ. Put it on the list. From Cooper Petty to Marree, Trek Smith is flying back and sees for the first time the impression in the ground of a huge man. You only get one after the one from earlier today, so you have to use it wisely about when you use it.
Oh, the Lonzo?
You only get one.
Okay.
So guys,
I wasn't even thinking about it.
No,
yet.
I know, but I knew
I'm
I was
gonna
gonna
get queued up though.
All right, I'm just saying.
Yep.
We can't beat it to death. We're gonna get one when it makes
We
sense.
can't beat it to death. No, we've never done that before.
He's flying back. He's pretty blown away by how huge this impression in the ground is. But obviously he's flying across it, so he doesn't have like measuring instruments. He can't actually tell how big it is. He just knows it's massive and super surprising. Now, he hadn't been in the area in a little while, so he was like, what is this? When did it get here? How did it get here? I've never seen it. Go ahead.
Can you describe more of what he's actually seeing? Like,
yeah, so this impression of a huge man is a large...
when you say impression, like...
by impression, I mean it is impressed into the ground itself on a large, flat, plateau-shaped area, or plateau of an area. The plateau itself, actually, that he's over is Finnis Springs, which is 37 miles west of Marree itself.
So someone has essentially, or we're assuming they've like carved this into the ground?
Yes, it doesn't...
Because there's not vegetation really to speak of, right?
No, I mean, particularly in the Outback in general, with how arid it is, there's very little vegetation in general.
So this has been carved into the earth.
Carved into the earth in this relatively flat, arid plateau area.
And how big are we talking?
I'm going to get there in 1 second.
Okay.
So he sees this thing, again, huge and knowingly huge, but doesn't know exactly how huge it is. He lands in Marree and starts telling the town about it. People are like skeptical, but interested. He takes a couple people up into the air to show it to him, and it starts to circulate because people are like, yeah, dude, it's fucking real and it's huge and no one knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. Later, the following month in July, the William Creek Hotel, which is located 120 miles northwest of Marree. So if you think about the triangle, if the plateau itself is 37 miles straight west, 120 miles northwest, you've got kind of a little bit of a triangle of proximity to the Marree Man itself.
Yeah. Sort of a right angle, a 90 degree boy there.
If you will. The William Creek Hotel starts receiving anonymous faxes.
Sick.
That describe Stewart's Giant, which they find is a reference to the Scottish explorer of the Australian Outback, which, goddamn, if there's an accent I'd like to hear more than any accent in the world, it would be a native Scot who's moved
Picked
to
up some
Australia.
Australian.
Oh, boy, I bet it's pure magic, honestly. William Creek, like I said, northwest of Marree, William Creek has a permanent resident population of 10 total people.
Wow.
10. So, again, super, super tiny.
Wait, this is a place that has a hotel?
It is a place that has a hotel. Mostly
Why, though?
for this exact reason of these places are sometimes like transient spots where it's the only way to get from another place to another place. So
You are
need
the midpoint of two places that people actually want to be?
you need a place to like buy some rice and some water and some gas and like get you to
Rice.
the next, like whatever base level foods that store
Yeah.
for long periods of time, I guess.
Cans of rum or whatever Ricky stocked up on?
Too many cans of rum is what it done did. There were also reports of, if not identical, extremely similar press releases that were also being sent to local media stations in some of these surrounding Outback towns.
Wait. So do we know what the faxes said other than making reference to Stewart's Giant?
So unfortunately, we don't have copies of them in their entirety.
Okay. Do we have summaries or anything?
We have some summaries. So they were making reference to Stewart's Giant, like I said, and giving rough directions or coordinates to where Stewart's Giant could be found.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it makes sense.
No, I'm trying to piece together like what would be the motivation for any or all of this. I'm not confused about what you're saying. I'm trying to like piece it all together.
For sure. We'll get more to motivation a little bit later. A couple things the press releases again. This Williams Creek Hotel, some of the surrounding news outlets in these Outback towns, as well as one of the police stations, and I couldn't figure out where the police station was, but a police station in one of those surrounding areas.
And these were all anonymous.
All anonymous faxes.
And they were all the same fax?
As far as I can tell, they were the same, or if not, like extremely similar. So maybe someone was writing the same thing down, or roughly writing the same thing down, and then just faxing a written version.
I'm of the age that I like remember faxes existing, but I don't think I've ever actually used a fax machine.
I haven't.
Is it scanning?
That's my understanding of it. Is it's a scanner that just essentially makes a facsimile, which is where fax comes from. It's a facsimile of the thing that you ran through the scanner, takes it via data, and prints it out on the other side.
So it could be handwritten. It could have images. It could.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could be literally anything. It's not like you're restricted to typography or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
A couple other things the anonymous press releases mentioned. Your state of SA.
Okay.
South Australia. Your state of South Australia.
Implying that it's not someone who
not the creators or not the person who knows about it. That's the other thing is like, does the person who knows about it, do they
not necessarily the same person who made it?
Not necessarily,
or
but
people, I guess.
Presumed to probably be associated to a pretty significant degree.
And remind me, how quickly did these faxes go out after?
Yeah.
What was the pilot's name?
Trek Smith.
Yeah. How soon after he spotted it did these faxes show up?
So Trek's initial flight that he came back to Marree and reported was on June 26th of 1998. And the press releases themselves were sent to the media and business outlets in the like Outback area of South Australia throughout the month of July and August. So they didn't all go out on the same date. It was, I think, more like scattered throughout those 2 months. They kind
starting
of trickled out
within a week or two, maybe
within like 10 to 15 days.
Okay. That's kind of odd.
I think the first one came out in like July 8th or something like that.
Okay. So like 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later.
All right.
The press releases also mentioned the quote Queensland Barrier Reef. And they also mentioned Aboriginal peoples from the local indigenous territories.
Okay.
And the reason this is notable is mostly because a lot of the terminology that people say was used in the anonymous press releases isn't really consistent with the way that a person who lived in Australia or potentially even a person who lived in Australia at all would talk about South Australia or about the area. Okay. And so it immediately started calling into question who was sending these press releases and if they were even Australian. Was it a visitor from the United States? Was it
when you receive a fax, it's from a number, correct? There's a fax number associated with it.
That's actually a really good question. I don't understand exactly how that works. I would imagine yes, it's an email address, like there's a from and a to, but I don't.
Wasn't it just like a phone? Didn't they use phone numbers?
Yeah, but you had to have a fax machine connected to the phone.
Right. I guess I'm just wondering, when you receive a fax, can you see the number that it's from?
Yeah, I don't think it's printed on the thing, so maybe you have to like see like you have a fax
like
coming
a
from
readout,
this,
though,
and then you have
there?
to maybe or you have to like write it down at that moment. Or
was there anything in there about? So we're speculating that it probably wasn't an Australian person sending these.
That was the assumption at the time, based on the information that was coming in. Again, trying to alert people to its location.
Yeah. Was there anything that would imply where this person. So it was in English, obviously.
Yes.
So we're looking at like probably Europe or the States. Were there? I guess what I'm getting at is like, was there anything else in the text itself that would imply one place over another?
The only other stuff that was in there was when it was, again, because these were trying to direct people to the location of the Marree Man, it was giving people directions, and in directions it was using miles and like feet and yards and inches.
Okay.
So none of the measurements or like directional things were metric, which again would imply American, because
that leaves us.
We're the only ones who are not on board with that.
Okay.
So all these things were included in the pits. People started exploring and trying to figure out, like, are these press releases real?
Did the press run with it?
The press did run with it, but only, I think, slightly later, like more when there was more press releases coming out, and also when it had been verified. Because again, Truck Smith had seen it, but it hadn't like
the carving itself had been verified,
right? Like, I think people were like, what is this? What are these? Like, we're not gonna run it in the paper until we're like, this could just be a fucking like prank or some fucking weirdo.
It's not the easiest place to get to confirm that either.
Right. You gotta
physically,
you gotta literally charter a small plane and fucking fly over it. And I mean, again, even with the distance of, the triangle we're talking about, like this William Creek spot was still 100 miles away, so you still got to fly. You got to fly south for half hour to get to this thing.
Right. Well, and then you're taking up a bunch of someone's time too.
Right.
Okay.
Come to find, however, they're right, and the Marree Man is a real thing, and it is in fact carved into a plateau on Finniss Springs. You asked how big? Is the Marree Man? The Marree Man is 4.2 kilometers long from edge to edge. I don't think I was fully clear. He is a naked Aboriginal man wearing some sort of headdress or mask or like costume on the head, in sort of a elongated sideways pose, and holding a weapon of some kind. It appears to either be a hunting stick or a boomerang or a spear thrower or something of the ilk. 4.2 kilometers long. That's 1.7 miles. Got it. The perimeter to drive literally from like just the outside of the entire thing is 28 kilometers. It's it's 17 miles around.
Is that like every little nook and cranny
every
of this
nook
boy,
and cranny,
though?
if you run that whole thing, takes you 17 miles. The total square footage isn't right, but square acreage, it's 620 acres of land.
Jeez.
The lines themselves that are carved into the ground are roughly 12 inches deep, so about a foot deep into the ground.
What?
And they're 30.
That would be really hard to do.
Well,
wouldn't it? Am I dumb?
It would be hard to do. Do you know what's harder to do is to make 12-inch deep cuts into the ground and make them, in some places, 115 feet across at their widest.
What the fuck?
The thinnest, they're 30 feet, which even at their thinnest,
15 feet across by a foot deep?
Yes.
And there's no... Is the earth just like displaced, or has it been actually removed? You know what I mean?
Both, yeah. Mostly displaced to the side, so there's like ridges along the edges.
Okay.
But in some places, but like relatively cleanly, if that makes sense. Like very professionally done, and that it's not like there are places where it's pretty sloppy. And for what it's worth, you all listening can very quickly just Google this, and you can see satellite photos of this because it's literally visible from NASA satellites from space.
So I typed in, I found those coordinates today and put it into Google Maps, and switched it over to satellite mode, and I was very confused at first.
Yes.
Have you done this?
No.
Okay. So if you type in the coordinates that Google gives you and go to satellite, in Google Maps, the first thing you see is just a bunch of like squiggly lines back and forth.
Like in the ground?
Yeah. And so I was very confused. I was like, that doesn't look like a person or anything.
Yeah.
And I zoomed out and I realized that the coordinates they give you are just showing you the dude's pubic hair.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
So if you hit the coordinates for the satellite images, zoom out, you'll see a whole man.
You'll see something different.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Otherwise, I was like, that looks like maybe a snake or something. That's not a person.
to that end, the Northern Territory News gave one additional specific description of the Marree Man, which is that I'm reading from this article, quote, "From the air, the giant aboriginal hunter, which is 28 kilometers in circumference, can be seen wielding a throwing stick and boasting a 7-meter erect penis."
I was going to say throwing stick. Am I right?
Yeah. Although I don't think it's fair to him because I don't think his penis is erect in that. And I think generally speaking, it's not fair to, speak about other people's erections that they can't control. And the Marree Man obviously can't control it because he's
He's not a real man.
carved into the ground, so it's not his fault.
Rock hard though, am I right?
I guess.
Let me
I gotta go.
I can't. No, these pictures got a close up of his dick.
Yeah, look, you can all decide this on your own.
This one's pretty good.
We don't.
Hold on.
You told me
You
that
didn't-
your satellite photo was zoomed in on the pubic hair. How did you not get a pretty solid look at this general
It was
region
too zoomed in.
of the art piece?
Oh, that's not erect.
I didn't think so
The
either.
Marree Man, a huge Aboriginal figure.
Whoa!
Thank you, news.com.au. Yeah, that's... Whoever wrote that has never seen an erect penis.
Or seeing the Marree Man, I guess.
Well, yeah, one or the other.
Maybe one or the other.
It looks more like a... Sorry, just to go back to his appearance real quick.
Sure.
It looks more like a headband or something on his head. It's like one line, and then maybe there's something in the back, but
there's
that could
some
be...
like verticality to it, right? Like it goes above where like a normal like rounded head would stop.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's more like a hat. Like it doesn't go over his face at all.
Yeah.
Right? Am I reading this correctly?
I mean, yes, like not. I guess mask is maybe like headdress feels more correct.
Yeah, I guess when you said that, I pictured something like coming down more. This is like above the ears, and there's something in the back, which it could be either like hair tied back or part of whatever's on his head.
Yeah.
Is he holding something in his other hand too? What are those lines across his chest? So he's got one arm bent in front of his chest, and then the other arm like back, like he's throwing something.
Yeah,
But
and
so he's got
like I said, the stick or like spear holder
it's his
or whatever
wand.
it is. Wand.
What's in his? He's got something in his other hand though. It's like several lines.
It almost looks
or are
like
those lines on his chest?
I can't tell. It almost looks a little bit like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a hand fan,
Yeah.
But I hear you because the elbow is pivoted back towards the chest, and there's it appears to be something else in that hand.
It also looks like he maybe has a beard. Is that
No, I didn't notice that. I didn't.
right? Because like the line of his chin extends out
Sure,
instead of coming back in, like
Sure.
in front of his shoulder. That's turned.
sure.
Huh. Yeah, they really put a lot of definition into his dick though, and like not the rest of his body.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. Like, it's definitely notable. There's not other like muscle definition.
No, nothing. Not another line anywhere else on his body, but they went ham on that dude's pubes.
One thing I will say though is, if you're not able to look at it wherever you are right now, I think one thing that I was seriously impressed by and like kind of shocked by is how perfectly proportionate it is for being how large it is.
Oh, I see.
the proportions of the limbs that we're talking are like literally over a mile away from each other
Yeah.
is really, really, really on point.
No, the scale looks dead on. Yeah.
Like it looks like a sketch that someone, if you look at some of these photos from afar, it looks like a sketch someone could have done on a piece of notebook paper really, really well. But
Well, it probably was. It's just a matter of how the hell do you translate that to that scale?
And I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is like the level of execution of it is pretty incredible.
So the what are the ones in Peru? Nazca lines?
The Nazca lines, yes.
Do you happen to know? We could Google it. I don't remember the scale of those. Like, are those bigger, smaller, about the same as this? Because those are pretty fucking huge, aren't they?
Yeah, we talked about these on an episode.
We did a whole episode on them. I just don't remember.
I was just saying, like, I remember knowing at one point.
And those were very old, right?
Yeah.
We don't know exactly, but like
we know they were created between 500 BCE and 500 CE. And they are between 0.4 and 1.1 kilometers across, which is 0.2 to 0.7 miles.
Oh, so this is significantly bigger.
By like,
but there are a ton of images on with the Nazca lines, right?
Yes.
So that measurement is like the largest individual image. Is that what that is? Because cumulatively, they've got to be way more than that.
Oh, cumulatively, yes. But like the individual design,
single one,
yes,
yeah, okay,
is that size. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about anywhere between double and 10 times the size of the largest Nazca line.
Yeah, but also in 1998.
Correct. Yeah, significantly more recently with a ton more technology involved.
Yeah,
almost inherently.
So what are the theories, the prevailing theories about like just how this was done logistically?
So
before we get to who and why.
Before we get to the theories on how it was done, there's a couple other things that they found that I think are worth talking through really quickly in the area. And actually not only worth, but like essential and make it fucking way stranger, I guess.
Great. That's what we're here for.
In a small pit that was found at the site of the Marree Man itself during investigation.
Like a natural pit, or like they dug out a pit to put stuff in it?
Like a pit was dug and covered back over, and that was dug up in the process of being like, is there something under there? What is it?
That's weird. Okay.
There was a satellite photo of the figure itself.
What?
Now, that in its own right is extremely strange to me because Google Earth didn't exist in 1998.
Yeah, how the fuck would you pull that off?
And I don't know what you would have to do to have access to a satellite that could take photos and then print them in the amount of time
before people would have noticed. Well, not necessarily before people noticed it, but before people got there and dug up this pit, right?
Right. And if we're talking about you've got these Outback, bush pilots flying back and forth all the time, like who knows how long it had been under construction or under creation when Trek Smith found it, but still to get a fully fledged satellite photo of it and get it buried at the site in that amount of time seems pretty fucking wild. And I have no idea how you'd actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
can I ask a question?
Sure.
That I'm assuming don't have an answer to, but I'll forget if we keep going. Is there or was there a U.S. military presence anywhere near there at the time?
There was.
Okay.
So there is a base called the Woomera Range Complex, which is run by the RAAF, the Royal Australian Air Force.
Mm-hmm.
And it is one of the most major Australian military facilities in the country. It is in South Australia, approximately 280 miles northwest of Adelaide. So this would be...
Would there have been any Americans there, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we had deployed troops in that same space in the late 90s.
Okay.
Not deployed troops to war, but like we had... like they're an ally.
Some
We
sort
share
of presence
troops.
there,
Yeah,
yeah.
we share troops all the time.
I'm just trying to think of like who, because I didn't know that satellite image part. Who would have had access to satellites?
Yes, and could take that.
Yep. Who would have had the ability, like equipment wise, to make something like this?
Right.
Because you would need, just to translate this image, you would need like GPS minimum, right?
Yeah, like really good GPS in 1998 to be able to
Which was
make it
not
to scale.
Really commercially available yet, right?
Not really. And I mean, again, like you're extremely remote. So you're talking about having access to a level of technology that is not like closely available to you. It's not like you can go down to a fucking Best Buy and buy like a $1,000 GPS unit or something like that.
And then it seems like the messages were probably from an American.
Right.
Okay.
One of the theories is that bored soldiers in the Australian Outback who had access to industrial level graders, because if you're building bunkers or you're moving dirt for fucking shooting ranges or whatever in the middle of nowhere,
whatever it is that
you
the military does,
you have industrial level graders around on some random weekend. Fucking 10 guys take a trailer out there with 3 or 4 graders,
try and get abducted.
Trying to get
Send a
abducted.
message to the stars, bruv.
Yeah, you make a big piece of artwork with your military buds. That is
makes
one of the theories.
sense to me so far.
That is one of the theories. There's also a version of that theory that is that Australian soldiers at the exact same range could have done the exact same thing, and that the American references are just red herrings, just intentionally to say we didn't do it.
I suppose that's not the type of thing you'd want to take credit for if you were
in the military and fucking off with
obviously
military equipment.
Didn't want to take credit for it.
Yeah. Let me run through the list of other stuff that was found in the area really quickly, and then we can get back to those who might have done it or how might they have done it. In that same pit, they found, like I said, that satellite photo. They found a jar that contained a small U.S. flag and a note which referred to the Branch Davidians, which, if you remember, is the cult from Waco and that whole fucking thing. David Koresh and all that fucking mess.
Okay. Going heavy on the American references.
Yeah, very, very heavy. And like that was temporally pretty close. I mean, that was 90.
I don't remember.
I actually don't remember either, but Waco was like in the mid 90s, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So it would have been close-ish to that time period. Another thing they found was they found a plaque that was buried near the nose of the figure. And on the plaque there was a American flag as well, with an imprint of the Olympic rings.
Waco was 93, by the way.
Okay. So yeah, mid 90s, within 5 years of that happening. And there was also a quote from
the Olympic rings. What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know. Was 98 would have been a Winter Olympics year?
I believe so.
Okay.
I think I'll double check that. I think that's right.
There was a quote from the Red Center by H. Finlayson, and I don't actually know what that is even.
I certainly don't.
But the quote itself read, "In honor of the land they once knew, his attainments in these pursuits are extraordinary, a constant source of wonderment and admiration." And it's worth noting that apparently the quote came from a page in that book that describes the hunting of wallabies with throwing sticks.
Oh.
And contained photographs of Aboriginal hunters that appear similar to the Marree Man.
98 was winter, and it was Nagano, Japan.
Got it.
2000 Summer Olympics was Sydney, though.
Oh, interesting. In preparation, if you will.
Perhaps.
So all those things were found on or around or near the property buried. Now, the thing that's tough about that is...
When you say buried, like they had to dig them up?
Yes.
How did they know that existed? This is a huge area we're talking about.
It is a huge area.
Was it marked or something?
Well, the area itself was really closely inspected. So I don't know.
The whole area?
I think they inspected the whole thing because they were trying to find evidence of who did it, how they did it.
And who is the they? Who's doing this?
I don't actually know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's
okay to not know.
I should have known the answer to that. But
okay. We often don't know the answers to things.
You're right. I guess my guess would be originally when it hit the news, I'm sure there was a bunch of people who were either like scholarly going, is this an Aboriginal thing we've never discovered before? Let's go check it out. There were press people who were probably going, can I get the best scoop on this for my paper? Mm-hmm. There were also probably people who were looking for like cash grab stuff where they were
is there treasure buried?
Yeah. But I mean, really though, or like, is there some sort of artifact I can pull out of this that will make me like the guy that found the thing at the place or whatever?
That's my goal in life. To one day be the guy who finds the thing at the place.
But yeah, so I don't know if it was like, were there people out there with metal detectors? For what it's worth, now it's restricted area that's Aboriginal land technically. Ooh. So it can't be crossed on foot.
That's extra messy then if it was military, isn't it?
It is, although I don't know what the designation of it at the time of creation was. I just know that's what it is now.
Okay.
So I don't know whether that was the case at the time or whether those are being distributed or redrawn at different times or whatever.
Okay.
But that whole part of not being able to access it via foot now today brings me to a pretty clear transition into the whodunit portion of this.
Yeah.
Which is there is a bunch of speculation that there were industrial workers in the surrounding area who did this as a cash grab for local air charters and tourists to essentially say, hey, look, we live in this outback area. If we create a destination, we can charge buku bucks for folks coming out of Adelaide who want to charter planes for the afternoon and see this remarkable, I mean, it's literally
see the desert guy.
Some people designate it as the largest piece of art in the world. And like that
probably is, right?
I mean, technically speaking, I think it is. There's one other thing that competes with it, which is the what's it called? The Sajama lines, which are in western Bolivia. And they were done by the indigenous people in Bolivia, and it's like a network of straight lines. Have you heard about this before or seen this before? I hadn't heard of it or seen it until this. But the lines themselves, if you think of the lines of the Sajama lines as like a network of lines, the network in total is larger than the Marree Man.
But like, it's not clear if it's one coherent piece or a combination of. Is that the idea?
Here, you can describe that. It looks like somebody dropped.
I don't know if I can.
It looks like somebody dropped a set of pickup sticks from the sky. That is a conceptual map of the Sajama lines.
Okay, yeah, it's like I don't know, 30 to 40 maybe lines. All some of them are coming from single points, but then they all overlap with each other in fairly chaotic ways.
Yeah. And to that end, it's not a designation of a thing by any means. It's
not representational of anything obvious.
We're not going to get into the definitions of what art are today, but like in terms of single largest piece of art, I think the Marree Man appears to be significantly more applicable for that than this. But that was one of the things. In fact, in the area, so there's this area that is 350 miles northwest of Adelaide called the Olympic Dam, which is actually the largest uranium mine in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And there's a guy who lives there whose name is Ken Lamb, who owns an industrial equipment business. And some said, hey, he'd have the equipment, he'd have the proximity, he could be in cahoots with the local air charters.
It seems like it would still be really expensive to do.
Well, experts who've looked into this from a grading, like getting industrial graders to do, one of the estimates say that, so if you were to use a normal industrial grader to accomplish what we've talked about, 12 inches deep, 30 feet to 115 feet across. Obviously, you can't grade anything at 115 feet across. You have to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to do it. So what they said was the total number of miles driven in an industrial grader at a speed where you're taking 12 inches of hard, arid, dry desert soil off.
Probably not happening very quickly.
Not happening very quickly. It was over 500 kilometers of plowing that had to occur to make this happen.
Okay.
Plus, you're doing it via GPS, which means you have to be like
it's got to be very accurate,
super accurate, and like I'm sure you're stopping and pausing and trying to figure that out.
Wouldn't there be a lot of evidence of that happening?
So
if you're transporting that equipment and you have multiple people there and you're...
That's a great question. The police and press like research of it found that there was essentially like one set of tracks in and out of the space.
Like tire tracks?
Yes, but they couldn't even really get tire prints out of it to determine like what the vehicle was that came in and out of the area.
Is that just because it's so dry that the ground is so hard?
I think so.
Okay.
In fact, that's something worth noting that since 1998 until 2016, the Marree Man had actually sort of deteriorated through the process of just like arid desert dryness blowing dust over this thing for
18 years,
almost 20 years, to the extent that the local population, I think it was a partnership with like some of the Aboriginal people as well as some of the surrounding area folk. They actually took graders back out to the site and they regraded the whole area to sort of reinforce the entity itself.
How long did that take?
As a way of preserving it. That's a good question.
A good estimate.
That'd be a perfect way to do it. I don't know. But someone said that to do 500 kilometers of plowing in those conditions would have taken 1 or 2 or potentially 3 graders up to weeks of time. Interesting enough, there was a guy, a local Aboriginal named Ron Dodd, who was a Marree resident. They say he's a Marree resident, but he lives like, I think it was something like 13 miles out of town. So I guess that still makes you part of Marree. But he said he had some sort of visibility in the direction of where this was and said that he was seeing lights in the evening, but that he believed it was neighbors looking for livestock driving around at night.
Okay.
But like, you're not doing this in a night, and doing it at night at all seems sketch.
Well, it depends on how you're guiding it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it
just seems like you'd want, I don't know. It seems like you'd want daylight to be able to do a thing like this.
I'm sure it would be easier. Yeah. But if you're also trying not to get caught.
But like, what if you fucked it up and you created the biggest like dumb guy piece of art in the world with like a weird short leg or something?
Maybe his dick was supposed to be pointing the other way,
or maybe it was supposed to be like twice as long.
Maybe he was supposed to
twice
have
as short,
half the bush he has.
I mean, based on your estimates, it seems like yes, that's correct. So local equipment folk partnering with local charter folk. One of the local air charters said that they literally doubled air traffic business overnight because of how interested people were in seeing this thing.
Okay.
They're charging
probably up your rates a little bit too.
They were charging $200 per person per flight to see this thing for like a 2-hour aerial flight.
They're doing 4 of them a day and making,
you got 4 people in a plane at a time,
making $3,000 a day running chartered flights.
You do that for a couple 100 days over like the nicest weather of the year, and you're making a shitload of money.
This is July and August, which is like middle of the winter for them.
Yeah. But I mean, to this day, like they are still flying flights over this area to see this thing. So it's been like a lasting impact on the the economy of the local area.
Yeah, I suppose if it's just seems like a high risk up front, but because you just run a lot of risks of like it couldn't have been that cheap to do it unless you got a bunch of people on board who all had a mutual interest in the outcome.
I mean, I guess cheap is really relative depending on what you have access to, though, right?
Like that's, I guess, another way of saying what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
if you already have the GPS tool and you've already got an industrial grader, or 2 because of a business you own. I mean, and you got nothing but time to fucking make this thing happen.
And we'll cut you in on the back end.
Yeah, we'll cut you 20%.
For the next 20 years.
Right.
Well, infinite number of years, perhaps. Yeah.
Right. We'll cut you 20% of our charter flights going forward on this specific path.
It's a little surprising to me that would not have ever gotten out.
Well, so that's why this thing is so fucking interesting, is because there is no eyewitnesses. There is no evidence that's been tied back to any individual.
Right.
No one has ever taken responsibility for it. No one has ever pointed the finger at anyone else except
that one artist dude, right?
Except for one person. And that one person is a friend of the Aboriginal artist Bardius Goldberg, which is a fucking just phenomenal name.
That's a wizard.
It's the best name I've ever heard. Not the worst name I've ever heard. Bardius Goldberg. God, it's just
Barty.
like
his name's Barty.
Barty.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't think about it. It's pretty fun to say.
Yep.
Got to admit. Bardius Goldberg lived in Alice Springs, which is in northern Australia, and had apparently spoken in his art about wanting to create something that you could see from space.
It's a pretty cool goal.
Pretty cool goal. Apparently at one point, because of that goal and having verbalized that, he had been asked about the Marree Man and refused to say one way or the other whether he had or had not done it.
It's probably good for business whether you had or had not done it.
Totally agree.
Keep the mystery going.
He did, however, have a friend whose name was hang on. Reg Harris.
Not a wizard.
Who said that on his deathbed, or roughly so.
On Barty's deathbed?
On Barty's deathbed, which he died in 2002, he had told Reg and a couple other friends that he was, in fact, responsible for the Marree Man.
Do we know how old he was when he died?
60. It was like 61.
Okay. I was just thinking it's happening 4 years before the guy died. How active he could have been in it. But
yeah, so I completely agree with that.
you can also obviously contract people to do things.
Totally. Well, and the other thing that's really interesting is Reg Harris said that, quote, a bloke gave Bardius $10,000 around the time the Marree Man was discovered, and Bardius said he was under instructions not to discuss why he was paid.
Huh.
Which...
Well, it could be both, though, couldn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, the implication of Reg's story is someone else wanted it created and paid an artist
to design it,
to make it happen, or to design it, and then they were going to do it.
Right.
Like, you make it, and there were some people who also said that Bardius had access to GPS technology and graders, but there's no like explanation of that, or like why he would have had that, or how he would have had that. Also, he didn't live in the area. He lived in Alice Springs, which is not close to this area.
But he could have like designed it and consulted on the project or something. And
100%.
So these other business owners in the area could have actually executed
been the executors. 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
That seems like a pretty good explanation if it's not the military angle.
Totally. Yeah, that they wanted an artifact in their space that would draw, I mean...
generate revenue for the rest of their lives.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, like, you're not just talking about the charter people, you're talking about people who are, you are talking about the charter people, but there are cascading consequences financially for people who stay in your hotels and drink at your bars, and like...
It also, the more I think about it, it makes sense that you'd have a strong incentive to keep quiet about it if you did this not on your own land.
Oh yeah, big time. Because it could, I mean, you could get in
it's very illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, you could get in pretty serious trouble for it. But now they've decided to preserve it and keep it a part of the area.
That's brilliant.
And there's this great little short that was made by, I think it's like basically whatever Australians public TV PBS station is, where they're interviewing people from Marree in like the local areas, and they're all basically being like, it's a pretty fucking good secret, and where they get should say that way. Like they're all just fucking like, yeah, like we like either we know and we're not gonna fucking say anything about it, or we don't know and it's fucking cool as it is. So fucking who gives a shit? Like it's cool.
Why would you say anything?
Yeah, no, I mean it's and at this point too, you know, the interesting thing about it too is like we're talking about something that's 20 years old at this point.
21 or 2 now, or 21 and a half. Yeah.
And we're talking about it in the way of like somebody who was 61 when they died in 2002. So that would have
57.
What do you mean?
Oh, sorry. I was saying he would have been 57 when this thing was made.
Would have been 57 when this thing was made. Also, if he was doing this with anything remotely close to his peers, we're talking about people who are now in their late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, which we don't know if he would have been.
We for sure don't. I'm just saying if there was people who were like longtime business owners who were trying to make this thing happen and wanted to put money into it at the time.
Right.
Probably
older people, yeah.
Probably relatively older
least,
people.
Yeah.
So we're talking about people who are maybe no longer alive or are maybe retired or like whatever. Like it seems like it might be one of those things where it struck in a moment. It was never revealed when it would have been revealed. And because of that,
it's just not going to be.
There's probably going to be a bunch of lore and a bunch of history and a bunch of like, I know it was the soldiers because I knew a guy who knew a guy.
Yeah.
Or it was this artist guy and I know it was because I knew a guy who knew a guy.
Well, and the American stuff is a great
it's
red herring if it is one.
Totally great. It's totally great. Also, the thing about it is like, you know, if you want to say it's an American or it was the American soldiers, like them putting references to like the Branch Davidians cult and like they're like that's fucking weird in its own right.
Yeah.
But then they're citing like Aboriginal hunter imagery from like Australian books. Like
perfect. It's perfect if you want to throw people off in a bunch of different directions.
Because it's inherently like not logical. It doesn't tell you anything intentionally, which is perfect. Maybe. I mean, maybe.
On the surface, it doesn't. Yeah.
No one has been able to piece together any sort of like logical narrative out of what was buried around and found around and the press releases and all that stuff.
It's a fun one.
It's a super fun one because this is one of those ones that I love for all the reasons we've talked about for the ones we love. Technically, like there is some, and I'll acknowledge this, there are some concerns around was this Aboriginal land that was desecrated? And that's like the one big, like, that sucks if that is what happened here. But outside of that, for the most part, it's one of those, like, nobody got hurt. There's nothing really dangerous about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun mystery. There's a lot of different ways you could look at it. There's a lot of different solutions to it. And it's just one of those ones that's probably going to live forever as like a good story that people are going to talk about and discuss and fuck around with, and like will just sort of be an everlasting thing, all related to a guy or a group of guys or gals or whatever who created the world's largest piece of art, which is like pretty fucking cool in its own right, you know?
Fuck yeah.
So anyway, I fucking love this one.
All right, dude.
I think that's it.
That feels like an episode.
That feels like a show.
We fucking did it.
Hey, if you want to hear more of the What If Podcast, you can go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast and get a second episode every week, including access to a back catalog of over 100 episodes you've never heard before for only $5 a month. And that's pretty fucking sick if we do say so ourselves. So go do that.
And we do. We dosted.
Go to shop.whatifpodcast.com. You can buy $50 shout outs on the show, t-shirts, posters, mugs, whatever you want. Buy somebody a New Year gift, because that's a thing now that I just said it was. Just kidding. Leave us an iTunes review. Join the Facebook group. Let's vote about Cop Face and his buddies and whether we talk about that shit ever again.
Let's not.
Thank you guys for supporting the show. We love y'all. We'll see you next week.
Fine with the bruises, waiting for summer. Excuses.
Soon as I stepped in, I was scanning for the exit. I know some things I should address, but would rather have the respite and some Scanning through the snow for footprints to show steps A to Z, but that's too fatalist for me. As if I don't have a choice, I mean, procedure's procedure. But I believe there's something to be seen in the fever, and it ain't another dreamer on the lever. All these expensive thrills, cheap pills, spilling up the hill of free will, broken stuff and open cuts, and that's real. And you can't act like that don't mean nothing, even if it means nothing. He love it, she love it, we running like a thief does it through the heave of it. That's a mean summit. I wrote this one in blood and some amount of what's undone. Too many secrets on my tongue. I mean, the bane of me is pain. Plain to see is Jane. Plant a seed, a panacea to waiting in vain and reciting something useless. Might as well use it while it works and while I'm still lucid.